call this pre-meeting briefing of the Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD Board of Trustees to order at 6:01 p.m. on February 2nd, 2023. The purpose of this pre-meeting briefing is to conduct a briefing session with administrative staff regarding the posted agenda for the regular board meeting scheduled for 7 p.m. on February 2nd, 2023. For the record, the board members present are Sally Derrick, Cassandra Hatfield, Tara Bachik, Carolyn Benavides, Ileana Garza Rojas, Kim Brady, and myself, Les Black. Thanks to all of y'all, all my colleagues up here and everyone in the room, all the staff out here tonight for braving the weather and getting in for this. We'll move quickly through this pre-meeting. Our second item is audience for guests. Persons wishing to speak during audience for guests must have completed a form. Do we have anyone tonight, Dee? Okay, so I'll skip that. And we'll go to agenda item number 3, which are our administrative reports. Mr. Mersch, are there any reports by administration?
Yes, sir, Dr. Black. Thank you, and members of the board, thank you. So our first item will be by our Executive Director of Safety and Security, Ms. Rachel Freeman, and she will discuss item L, which is consider approved purchase of a visitor volunteer management portal with emergency management suite and silent panic alert system. Ms. Freeman.
This evening. The district has applied for the SPAT grant, which was due, which is due at the end of this month. And with our SPAT grant funds, we intend on purchasing our Raptor Emergency Management Suite. So through this presentation, I plan on showing and talking a little bit about each section of the Emergency Management Suite so you can see the whole piece and how it comes together. So the first portion I want to talk about is the drill manager. This will widely be used by our campus administration. They'll be able to plan their drills. They'll be able to run their drills through the emergency or this portion of the app, and they'll be able to account for students through this portion of the app. We've already talked about creating and scheduling drills. Conducting, they can manage drills through the app, and then they can track and report drills. This also helps me making sure that we are accountable and we are running the necessary required amount of drills per year. And then this is the big part that I really want to talk about, the Raptor Alert, which qualifies us for the SPAT grant. The Raptor Alert is basically, it's an emergency response. So through the application, you have these 5 buttons, which follows the standardized response protocol, which our district utilizes. And you'll notice that little button at the very bottom, that Team Assist, is kind of an instant, I need help right this second. So we can use Team Assist for many things. It doesn't have to be for a major emergency, but it could just be, I need somebody in the front office. It's like think of it as more like a chat throughout the day that our campus administrators and staff can use. Raptor Alert can initiate emergencies. It also has a hot button which allows 911 calls. Real-time mass notifications, so when an alert is initiated in Raptor Alert, it's going to send key people in the district a notification via cell and email, so text message, phone call, email. It integrates perfectly with our emergency management system. And we can customize it to what we need in our district. And since we utilize standard response protocol already, and this app is really designed for use in conjunction with standard response protocol. And this is what it looks like in the app itself. To initiate the emergency, you're just going to click that button that says Initiate Emergency. You're going to tell which emergency it is. And if you need to call 911, it'll allow you to call 911 right from that screen. For smaller, and I mentioned Team Assist already, but for smaller scale incidents, you can initiate this. So maybe you don't need to put your campus on an alert, like a secure or a hold in place or something like that, but you do need assistance in the front office, or maybe you just need the security officer to come to the front office. This is great, and it just notifies key people. Oops, I'm going the wrong way, sorry. Raptor accountability is what I would use in the emergency management side, but it allows me from my office or my desk or wherever I'm at, it allows me to see and into the emergency that's going on at the campus level. I can pull up the alert and I can see exactly how many students have been accounted for when they run that drill or when they run that emergency. So as the teachers are accounting for their students in their roster, it's going to show and it's going to take a percentage out of the red and put them in the green as accounted for and safe. This is one of my favorite parts about the app. You can account for staff. Let's say that it's Donuts with Dads that morning. We have a whole bunch of parents in the building. We already utilize our visitor and volunteer management portal with Raptor. Assuming those parents or visitors were signed in through the Raptor portal, it's going to take all of that data and integrate it seamlessly with the emergency management side. So if we did have an event like Donuts with Dads, it's also going to ask, hey, these guardians are signed in at the front office, are they okay too? And it's going to ask and initiate a response for them. We can store, just like our current app that we use, we can store building maps, we can store our emergency operations procedures and our campus safety plans in there. And again, this is another part of my favorite part of this app is the reunification piece. Currently, we have about 500 cards printed at the SOC, which is not enough for any campus in this district. But through reunification, we now have an app that we could actually utilize. If we needed to reunify a campus with parents and guardians, we would do everything through the app. It stores the data, it stores the information. We don't have paper copies of things that we're holding on to. Everything is retained throughout the app, which is perfect. So it allows us to integrate with the parent portal as well, so it automatically pulls up parent data, and we can see on the app itself which parents are assigned to which students. So it allows us to very quickly, if in the event of an emergency, it allows us to determine, is this the parent, and are we okay to let the child go with that parent? Do we have any questions about the application?
Questions from the board? Ms. Derrick?
Thank you for the presentation. That's great information and sounds like it's an amazing software for our district. I have a question though about all this functionality. Is each teacher going to have the app on their phone, their own personal phone?
It is actually, you can put it on your phone if you want to, so that's the option, but it works on any device. So if they have a Chromebook, a MacBook, an iPad, it doesn't matter. It's not specific to items. They can have it on any piece of technology that they want. I think most educators will prefer to have it on their phone because that's what we tend to be attached to.
That's what I was wondering, like if they were to take off out of a classroom
Right.
with the students, they would have the app with them to be able to start
Correct.
using the functions about accounting for students and things like that.
That's correct.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Sure. Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Benavides?
Thank you very much. I had 3 questions. Is the data or the information on the app available to outsiders or sold to third parties?
No.
Okay, and what about for every person that's on our app, we have permission to have them on there, be a part of a system that may or may not be seen by someone else that did not have authority to be on there?
So Raptor will sync with our systems in place already in the district. For example, Teams for our student database, Teams for our staff portal. It's going to sync with that, automatically syncs every day actually. So it updates the student portal and it updates the staff portal as well daily. Nobody else is going to have access to the information within the app because it is a closed app. The only people that will have access to it will be staff members in the district. All staff members will have equal access to it.
Okay, so and then the safety to hackers or outsiders, is that what our district is covered by? Is that correct? I mean, safety for hackers, against hackers?
It is
like
a
that?
protected app, and
Okay,
I'm sure
protected,
Raptor's
thank
worked
you.
on that pretty diligently.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Hrabacek, did I see your hand? No? Ms. Brady?
How much is the SPAT grant for?
Our SPAT grant please don't quote me, I believe it's about $75,000. Is that about right? Yeah.
Okay. Then my second question was, is this technology linked or synced with the bus technology that we'll be using?
It is not.
Two separate things.
Two separate things.
Any other questions? Ms. Freeman, thank you very much for the
you.
information. Very interesting presentation.
Thank you.
Our next presentation will be by Mr. Larry Guerra, and he will cover item M and item N to consider approve the purchase of Chromebooks and laptops.
Thank you, Mr. Mersch. Good evening, Dr. Black and the board. I'm presenting on behalf of technology tonight because of unforeseen circumstances. So item M and N are for the purchase of Chromebooks and laptops. And as you know, purchasing law 44.031 requires us to procure the services for items such as this when they go over a certain threshold. So we used, we talked about the last meeting through a cooperative, the Texas DIR cooperative, which allows us to purchase these under contract. And we are purchasing Chromebooks and laptops.
Thank you, Mr. Guerra. Questions from the board? Ms. Benavides.
Can you tell me why the Chromebooks are currently getting replaced?
I'm sorry?
Why are the Chromebooks getting replaced? Did you say that?
The Chromebooks normally have a 4 to 5 year life, and this year is their 6th year, so they're out of warranty. And we've actually got one more year out of them, one more than we expected. We know we can, normally it's 4 years and we try to go 5. We've actually went 6 years because they remained in pretty good shape. But they are going out of where the iOS system won't be backed up or serviced by the software company anymore, so they were due to be changed out anyway.
What will happen to the ones we have now? Did you mention that?
They get sent back as credits when we send them in normally, so we'll try to send back as many as can, and other ones we'll repair and keep as backups just in case there's damaged ones during the year.
Thank you.
Derek?
And I'm just clarifying, this is only for 5,000 Chromebooks total, which is obviously not all of the Chromebooks that we own in the district.
That is correct.
Okay.
They're on a cycle, so we replace 5,000 at a time, and this
Gotcha.
is the time for these 5,000 to get
Okay,
replaced.
that makes sense. Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Garza Rojas.
Who are these Chromebooks for that you're replacing?
Let's see. The Chromebooks are for students. There's 2 type Chromebooks that they have, and these will go all to students and to replace the ones that are damaged for students as well, but they're solely for students.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Looking left, looking right. Okay, Mr. Guerra, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Mercer, are there any further administrative reports?
No, sir, that concludes the administrative reports.
Okay, we'll move to agenda item 4. Board members, do you have any questions regarding consent agenda items? Consent agenda items. Ms. Brady?
I had a question about letters O. Just kind of what happened and I don't know if it's a Malcolm question. It's about the purchasing of the classroom furniture that was
Yes.
in the bond, but then it's not in the bond.
Mr. Guerra,
So-
do you want to respond to that one?
This is the furniture?
This is the furniture that it was
Yes.
in the bond, but then now we're paying for it.
The
Just-
McWhorter furniture.
McCord
Clarity.
furniture. Yes, it had been delivered in 2021, and because we took it out of the contract and tried to save money by paying it for ourselves, they had never reissued the invoice to us. So we finally got them to reissue the invoice, so we brought it back for y'all since it's, a year and a half old. And it'll look like a purchase on this year's books. So we went straight
Okay.
through them instead of going through the GC.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Brady. Thank you, Mr. Guerra. Any other questions about consent agenda items? Looking left and right. I see none. Okay, so we will move to agenda item 5. Board members, we've reached the end of the agenda for this pre-meeting briefing, and we are adjourned at 6:16 p.m. I call this regular meeting of the Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD Board of Trustees to order at 7 p.m. on February 2nd, 2023. Board members, district staff members, and members of the audience, you're free to join me in standing Trey Kroom of the Redeemer Church as he provides a message followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Ileana Garza Rojas and the Pledge to the Texas flag led by Sally Derrick.
Lord, before we do anything, let us grieve the loss of a life of a middle school student in our district. Please continue to be a good God and bring comfort to the family. As bystanders, God, allow it to remind us how precious life is and our impact. Father, we lift up our country as well as a nation witnessed the death of Tyree Nichols. Please bring peace. Thank you for the hundreds of teachers, staff, that they give everything of themselves to the students. For the board and district, remind them that their labor is not in vain and grant favor to their lives. Bless our time together as we discuss ways to serve one another better than the day before. Amen. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Kroom, for those words, and Ms. Garza Rojas and Ms. Derrick for leading us through the pledge. And welcome everyone who's here tonight. Thank you for braving the elements and coming out to spend time with us on this Groundhog Day. And it feels like Groundhog Day. As a district, we dedicate all our efforts and resources to our goal of high expectations for all. The board uses this goal to guide all deliberations, decisions, and actions. You'll get to see all the deliberations, decisions, and actions of the board in open session, with the exception of some items which may be discussed in a closed session as stipulated in the Texas Government Code, Section 551, commonly known as the Open Meetings Law. These items typically deal with personnel matters, consultation with our attorney, and real estate. For the record, the board members present are Sally Derrick, Cassandra Hatfield, Tara Botchick, Carolyn Benavides, Ileana Garza Rojas, Kim Brady, and myself, Les Black. We constitute a quorum and may conduct business on behalf of the district. Before moving on to our next agenda item, I would like to remind you that the board will accept comments from citizens of the district and from district employees. Persons who wish to speak during audience for guests must have completed a form for this purpose and placed it in the designated location prior to the opening of the meeting. When the board addresses item 3, audience for guests, you'll be invited to the podium to speak to the board. So we're going to move now to agenda item number 2. And item 2, special presentations and recognitions. Items 2A, 2B, and 2C, the teachers and employee the 9 weeks, and recognitions. We're going to defer those to our March 2nd board meeting. We just wanted to try to not make people have to drive unless it was absolutely necessary tonight. So we're going to defer those items. We'll move to item 2D, which are our district announcements. And I believe, Mr. Mersch, you're going to handle this as well as item 2E, which is our PTA update.
Yes, sir, I will. Ms. Parnell, if you will just bring up, we just want to show on the website, it's February is Black History Month, and we're celebrating that. So if you can go to our website, you'll see all the activities we've got scheduled throughout the month. Just go down to the bottom. So you see the calendar, and you'll be able to scroll over to see all the activities. So we want to celebrate that, and we ask that you follow our district and campus on social media and follow along with these celebrations. And additionally, during Black History Month, we want to acknowledge that CFB has 2 elementary schools named after African American women. Bernice Chapman Freeman of Freeman Elementary School, and Annie Heads Rainwater from Rainwater Elementary School. Also, we want to do a very special shout out to the Rainwater family during Black History Month. Miss Rainwater's birthday is tomorrow, February the 3rd, and the family will honor her legacy this weekend with a celebration at Rainwater Elementary. So in 1962, 60 years ago, she began working ensuring that CFB schools were integrated and that all students had access to a quality education. Just wanted to give a shout out to the board. You are to be commended for your flexibility and diligence. There's been a lot of schedule changes this week due to the weather. And just to let everyone know, the board is working very hard to keep on the schedule for the superintendent search. So they will be working on Saturday and Sunday doing interviews to make sure that they're adhering to the published schedule. The weather has been very challenging. I want to give a special thanks to Malcolm Mulroney, Bobby Shaw, and facilities for all the great work they've done during the closure. And you can see the building and the parking lot, what a great job they've done getting that situated so it's safe for all of us to come in. I want to thank Ms. Freeman, Jamal Thomas, and the security officers for all their support during the last few days and making sure all our campuses and everything are being monitored. On behalf of the PTA, I just want to remind everybody that the Harlem Wizards event is on Saturday, February the 25th at 6 p.m. at Newman Smith High School. We invite everyone to come out and enjoy the game. Everyone who went last year, we all had a great time. It's a great event, and we'd love for you to be there. And that concludes the district announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Murr. So that was our items 2D and 2E. So we'll move to agenda item number 3, which excuse me, is our audience for guests. Do we have any people here to speak? Excuse me. We have no one here for audience for guests, so we'll move from agenda item 3 to agenda item 4, which are our non-action items for discussion. So we'll turn to 4A, which is our CCMR and CTE update. I'll turn it over to Ms. Jo Gillen.
Good evening, Mr. Morse, Dr. Black, and esteemed board. The SEL Post-Secondary Department has many components. Tonight, I will highlight CCMR and CTE. As a district, we welcome our students in pre-K and we shepherd them all the way through high school. What is the ultimate goal? It's graduation. But along the way, we know how important it is to prepare students for college, career, or military so they leave us with their diploma and they are prepared for their future. In recognizing our most recent graduation rate for 2021 of 93.7%, or if you are a believer in rounding, 94%. Which is above the region and state. Dr. Hamlin and I had the opportunity to present at TASA, Texas Association of School Administrators, and share our strategies on how to close the gaps and support students from graduation to next steps. Look at the chart on the right. Talk about closing the gaps. Look where we started. And look where we are now. The district is so proud of our students and their ultimate achievement of graduation and success in life. Over the last 2 years, you have heard a lot about CCMR and CTE in presentations about accountability, progress in programming, and in departmental updates. Even just the titles of our previous presentations highlight the movement and progress we have made in such a short time. Oh, the places you'll go. This presentation introduced the beginning of our CTE alignment. Together We Rise through CCMR shined a spotlight on the plan we had in place to reset CCMR after we had all been grounded at home for 18 months. Balance is better. This past September, we presented to you that balance is better within our student outcomes to allow a range of post-secondary options. The range and strength of CCMR and CTE opportunities available to students in CFB are critical for both our graduates and for our district to be successful. CTE has gone from a hodgepodge of courses all over the district to neatly aligned programs of study that offer industry-based certifications, work-based learning, and dual credit opportunities. CCMR has only been a part of accountability for about 5 years, and yet it has a substantial presence regarding students' futures, district accountability, and performance outcome bonuses. Check out our CFB plane on the slide. Let's think about where we are going, how far we need to go, and where we want to land. Perhaps the most basic question a pilot can ask is, how do I guide an airplane? The answer to this question involves a fundamental principle that underlies just about everything a pilot will do. That underlying principle is wrapped up in what is called attitude flying. Attitude flying is simply establishing a positive control of the aircraft's flight path. Our flight path includes many runways and numerous planes. As we fly the CFB plane, our team of air traffic controllers makes decisions through both fair weather and rough air to ensure that the flight is a positive experience for our students and staff, and that we all arrive where we want to go. As a district, we are always referring to our collaborative vision for 2030 as we make plans, refine our strategies, and reset what we are doing to meet these goals. Now let's look at some key CCMR and CTE goals within CV 2030. As we continue to engage our students in CCMR, we are producing advisory lessons for elementary through high school that highlight topics as well as concepts for understanding their flight path to success in CFB. Our high school campuses were excited to showcase their growing programs. They developed CTE guides for their campuses, and the CCMR department published a comprehensive guide to CCMR in English and Spanish for elementary, middle, and high schools. In addition to the guides and online resources, campuses are putting on great preview nights, open houses, recruitment sessions, and detailed information nights for students and parents. As we collaborated with the Vision Committee back in 1920 school year, we gained insight and validation that CTE could bring in revenue and marketing through programs such as floral design, vet med, the Culinary Arts Cafe, and cosmetology, to name a few. We know that our academies and our CTE programs draw many families to our district and community. Also in CV 2030, partnerships with local businesses and national organizations continue to be a game changer for many of our programs. We are strategic in developing industry partnerships with companies that support the needs of our students and community. We take into account labor market data, student interest surveys, and partner feedback. And now to highlight two specific areas we need to grow in. We knew the CFB plane needed to change direction as we studied the data and collaborated with other districts on where we wanted to land. We are taking an interdepartmental team approach to expand the scope of dual credit across the district. It takes time, a lot of collaboration, and it requires determination to see it through. There are a lot of moving parts and runways. Regarding IBCs, industry-based certifications, we have 88 available to our students, and more are being added in the 23-24 school year. Due to the lagging indicator from the state, this data shows where we were before improvements were made through the alignment. We are optimistic that this percentage will increase. In fact, the data as we carefully monitor it now is very positive. CTE teachers and staff have been working hard to meet our CV 2030 goals, and we hope to have time in the near future to share with you all in greater detail the wonderful things that they've been working on. We have reviewed programs and worked with our partners from around the state in these two highlighted areas, dual credit and industry-based certifications. And we are excited to share how we are setting the appropriate attitudes and plans for the best outcomes for overall student and district performance. Just like a busy international airport, we provide more than just a single flight path. And as shown in January, the most recent accountability report from TEA, it's very positive. However, the environment we fly through evolves, and sometimes our paths need adjustment. There are other college readiness programs that are offered in the district similar to dual credit, but because we need improvements with our dual credit opportunities, we want to ensure equitable opportunities across the district. UT on-ramps and advanced placement both currently have costs associated. Dual credit is of no cost to our students at this time, and for equity purposes, we want to grow this program. Building a more intentional, active dual credit program across our comprehensive high schools will complement our other college credit programs and improve equity and performance. Committees are being formed to address all factors related to dual credit. If you fly often enough, you are going to experience turbulence. A pilot encountering turbulence has three options: change altitude, alter the course, or ride out the roughness. On a long enough flight, you might have to do all three. This is so true if you are an educator. We have a wealth of expertise and experience in CFB to help us adjust our path as needed. We appreciate the support of district leadership and the school board as we evaluate and maintain our programs to provide the best flight experience to the most desirable destinations for our students. I feel fortunate to be on the CFB airplane with all the great things that are happening with our students, but also with all the challenges ahead for us to grow and improve. Very much like our airline industry today, that continues to face challenges and opportunities for growth. We are challenged by where we need to grow. Despite the blip on the radar with COVID, we are still producing graduates ahead of the region and the state. And our overall CCMR performance as of 2021 is ahead of the region and the state. As we work on the areas that have become our focus for growth, dual credit and industry certifications, we thank you for your support as we navigate the journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gillen. Board members, do you have questions? Ms. Derrick.
Thank you, Ms. Gillen. I'm actually really excited that you talked about dual credit tonight, because this is something that I have navigated already with one child, and now I'm navigating with a second child. And there's a lot of conversation happening in our house regarding dual credit. I'm curious, so on the sample that you provided, is this something that, I mean, I know things can change, but is this something similar to what we are looking at potentially offering all students across all high schools?
Yes.
Okay.
All comprehensive high schools, this sample is very similar to what we're working on in order to bring that to all students.
Do we imagine that that is possibly going to be in place by next school year? Not next school year,
No.
okay. And then is this daytime during the school day classes we're talking about, not night school?
That is what we're working toward.
Okay.
And that sometimes can be the challenge.
I totally understand that. Okay.
Yes.
I'm glad we're having this conversation. I
Yes.
think as a parent, my struggle has been kids that have taken AP and dual. AP, you can do great in all year long, and you take one test on one day. It's just like a STAR test. And you could have a bad day, and you could have made an A in that class, but if you don't score 3 or higher on your AP exam, you don't earn college credit.
Right.
And that can be very frustrating for students, and I've seen that kind of across different students, where I feel like dual credit gives these kiddos more of an opportunity to know what the feel is for college,
Yes.
and that you can be successful all year long, and then it's about just your cumulative grades through the semester or year that earn you the credit versus that one snippet in time. I think there's a place for AP for sure, and I think it gets the points that children want for GPAs, which is understandable, but I think that we have a lot of kiddos that aren't so much focused on that and could find a much more value in this. And this is giving our families in the future classes that they're not going to have to pay for in college, which is so huge. I mean, these are dollars. Every one of these classes equals a certain amount of dollars.
Cost savings for our families
Yes.
and students. Absolutely.
Yes.
We're excited. It's a big project. So we're going to be patient. We're going to have all of the committees look at a lot of different areas. Staffing. We want our teachers to be the dual credit teachers.
Right.
So there's a plan.
Okay, I'm so thankful to know this work's happening, because this is good work that can benefit our kids now and into the future. So that's fantastic. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Ms. Brady?
So, first I want to say thank you for everything that you guys do. It's amazing. I think it's one of the highlights of this district is all of the things that we offer in the CTE programs. It's just incredible. But my question actually was very similar to Sally's about dual credit, because I understand that UT on-ramps is going away this year. So my question was going to be, is this going to be in place for next year? And if not, what's the plan for some form of dual credit for the kids that are already doing UT on-ramps this year?
So we do have dual credit in the district. It's just somewhat of a hodgepodge. Different, like, for example, the IBA program at Neiman Smith has a plethora of dual credit opportunities, but that's not for all students. So the plan is to bring the dual credit so that everyone can have the opportunity to do dual credit. So there will be a bit of a lapse in the opportunities that we'll provide while we're working through this to get this in place.
Okay.
Since it does take time.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions? Ms. Hatfield?
Thank you for the presentation, very helpful. As someone who got almost, I don't even remember how many hours, but a lot of hours in dual credit, this is something that I found value in as a student, and I really believe in because it does make a difference for financially for families. So you mentioned that we were looking potentially at using our own staff. Tell me how that might, a little bit more about how that would differ from having like a college come in and have a wing or something.
Well, we feel like our students would benefit from their teachers. The teachers here in CFB, if they're able to teach those courses, they already have that relationship with the student. And we know that when we've had students go to the college to take the courses, or if that instructor comes to us, our students aren't quite as successful as the teachers that we have in-house right now. So we want to expand that. We want more of our teachers in CFB to be able to teach those dual credit courses. And they must have 18 hours in that subject. So right now we've been running a query and looking at how many teachers we actually have that possibly might just need 2 or 3 more courses in order to have that 18 hours. So that's part of what the one committee is going to do specifically, is look at our teachers now and which teachers we could help get those 18 hours.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah.
I'll go to Ms. Benavides first, then we'll come back.
Thank you. I wanted to ask about the UT on-ramps course. Is there a possibility to run that while we're setting up the other program for all students? Because don't those students lose 1 year, 2 year of that dual credit opportunity without the on-ramp program?
Well, the on-ramp program will be phased out. So that as it's phasing out, as we're bringing the dual credit piece in, and then of course we have the AP, that opportunity for students to get college credit. So there will be a gap, because anytime you make a change or you bring something new on and expand it, there will be a little gap.
So the AP that you're talking about, the ESL students have the opportunity for those courses as well?
Yes.
During the switch?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And then I wanted to ask you about the consistent graduation numbers that you shared earlier. What do you attribute that to? And can we continue on that flight?
Yes, it is harder once you are up in the percentages higher into the 90s to keep that, maintain that, because we do have 4 comprehensive high schools that we are constantly in check with on students crossing the line for graduation. But we've maintained a very consistent climb that we're very proud of. We work really very hard. One way that we do that is through graduation teams, and that is a collective group of anywhere from 25 to 30 individuals that come together monthly for each campus to discuss students that are struggling, that might have challenges with graduating, whether it's social and emotional, academic challenges. We get to know their story, we understand their story, and we try every way possible to help them graduate. So grad team is that accountability piece, I believe, that has helped us continue such a high rate for graduation. And that's what Dr. Hamlin and I presented on at TASA this last week to help other districts develop those.
That's great. Thank you.
Ms. Derrick?
Just wanted to go back to Ms. Hatfield's question about staff and dual credit. So this is a partnership with Dallas College, right? So would these teachers then, I'm assuming, get training through Dallas College in order to be able to teach classes that would get Dallas College credit?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then would those teachers then have the opportunity to do other things like with Dallas College? Are they officially, do they become?
Adjunct?
Yeah.
Yes.
They do?
Yes,
Okay.
if they wanted to.
Okay.
Yes. There's a lot of opportunities for our teachers, but we have to also make it appealing for our teachers to do it.
Well, I was going to ask that because it's more work.
It
I'm
is.
assuming. And with that extra responsibility and more work, which we need them to do this, are we in talks also of how do we recruit these teachers to want to teach and do
Yes.
extra work?
So it's always helpful if you contact other districts to see how they're doing it. And so the few districts that we studied and had meetings with, when they are interviewing for their high school positions, that's part of the criteria, that they have a certain number of hours to teach at the graduate level so that they can move them into that dual credit position. So that's something Dr. Hamlin and I have been discussing on how we can do that. That's part of, there's going to be 4 committees, and one of those committees is going to be totally about staffing and how we can help influence those to teach the dual credit courses,
Okay.
what things we can offer.
Okay, that's great. Do you, not to put you on the spot, but do you have any idea, a timeline on this?
Well, it won't be for the next school year. Hopefully, my goal is for the following school year.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? Okay, I see none. Thank you very much, Ms. Gillen, for the presentation. We're going to turn now to agenda item number 5, which is our consent agenda. Consent agenda is a mechanism that the board uses to approve a number of routine items together with a single vote. In compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, the public notice for this meeting includes a list of all consent agenda items, and the board has been provided ample information about these items in advance. Prior to any action taken on the consent agenda, board members may request the withdrawal of individual items for clarification or discussion. Board members, are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda at this time? Ms. Urbacek.
Yeah, I'd like to pull item 5P as in Paul and 5Q for separate consideration, please.
Okay, give me just 1 second. 5P is in Paul and Q. Okay. Okay. All right, thank you very much. So We have a motion to remove 5P and 5Q. If there are no other items to be removed, well, I'll ask first, are there any other items to be removed? Okay, so if we have no other items removed, do I have a motion regarding the consent agenda as amended? Ms. Derrick.
I move that we approve the consent agenda with the removal of P and Q.
Okay, I have a motion from Ms. Derrick that we approve the consent agenda with the removal of items 5P and 5Q. Do we have a second? I have a second from Ms. Brady. Okay, all those in favor, oh, excuse me, is there any discussion? All right, no discussion. All those in favor, please show by raising their hand. I see 7 hands raised. So by a vote of 7 in favor and 0 opposed, the consent agenda as amended with the removal of 5P and Q is passed. So we will move now to agenda item 6, which are our items for discussion and or action. And 6A is our items removed from consent. So should we look at these separately, Mr. Marsh? 5P and 5Q. Would you ask to have these removed, Mr. Bocek? Would you like to look at them separately, or would you like to speak in them together, or?
I won't be voting.
Okay, all right. So, okay, I'll ask for a motion related to 5P first. Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and put them together.
Okay.
I would like to make a motion that we approve the consent agenda items P and Q.
Okay, I have a motion from Ms. Derrick that we approve consent agenda items 5P and 5Q. Do I have a second? Okay, Ms. Garza Rojas, I have a lot of seconds there. I'll give that one to you, Ms. Garza Rojas. Is there any discussion? Okay. Seeing, hearing none, I'll ask all those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed? So by a vote of 6 in favor, 0 opposed, and 1 abstention, items 5P and 5Q both carry. Okay, so we'll now move to agenda item 6B, which is to consider approve recommendation from the Facility Naming Committee for the DeWitt Perry Athletic Field. And I'm going to turn this over to you, Mr. Marsh.
Thank you, Dr. Black. The committee representative that was going to present this tonight is unable to attend, so I will be making the recommendation on behalf of the committee. So per policy CW local, naming facilities, at the November 3rd, 2022 Board of Trustees meeting, the board requested administration convene a committee to address the naming of the athletic field at DeWitt Perry Middle School as outlined in policy. CFB-ISD administration accepted nominations to form a committee of 7 individuals to evaluate and propose a recommendation for the naming of the athletic field. On December 1st of 2022, the nomination form was made available to the community with CFB staff to submit nominations to be reviewed by the appointed committee. The nomination process closed on December 15th of 2022. On January 11th of 2023, the DeWitt Perry Athletic Field Naming Committee met to evaluate and discuss the submitted forms. An official name was voted on and approved by the committee, resulting in the recommendation being brought before you tonight. Therefore, on behalf of the DeWitt Perry Athletic Field Naming Committee, we submit to you the recommendation for the new name of the athletic field. The recommendation is for it to be called the John M. Matthews Athletic Field. And the committee wanted to thank you, board, on behalf of them for the opportunity to be able to provide the recommendation and to participate on the committee. So the recommendation is John M. Matthews Athletic Field.
Okay, before I ask for motion, board members, do you have any questions about the process for Mr. Marsh? Okay, hearing none, I will ask, do we have a motion regarding this agenda item? Oh, Mr. Bocek.
I move that we accept the recommendation of the naming committee for the naming of the new field at DeWitt Perry, John and Matthews.
Okay. So I have a motion from Ms. Herbacek that we accept the recommendation of the committee regarding the new football field. Put that into the record again. And soccer field.
And track.
And track. Do I have a second? See a second from Ms. Brady. Is there any discussion? Okay. Ms. Herbacek.
I watched a video this weekend, or I think it was this weekend, on YouTube of some Turner alumni from, I think, the 80s, because they're friends of my husband as well. But as they were touring around some CFB facilities, they were at the back of Perry, and they said, now this was Coach Matthews' domain. And as we had to sit in the stands and listen to him tell us how it is, that was one of their memories, for that. So I think that he made a huge impact on a lot of kids at DeWitt Perry. So I think it's a fitting recommendation.
Thank you, Ms. Herbacek. Any further discussion? Okay. Then I'm going to ask for all those in favor to please show by a raised hand. I see 6 hands up. All those opposed? So by a vote of 6 in favor, 0 opposed, and 1 abstention, the motion carries. Thank you. Our next item is item 6C, which is to consider and approve action regarding all matters related to a May 6, 2023 general trustee election, including an adoption of an election order. Mr. Mersch, I'm going to turn this over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Black. Texas election law states it is necessary for the Board of Trustees to pass an order establishing the procedure for filing and conducting a trustee election. The election must be called by February the 17th of 2023. The election will be conducted for the purpose of electing 2 at-large members to the Board of Trustees of Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD. It is recommended the board approve the recommendation as presented.
Are there questions for Mr. Mersch? Ms. Herbacek?
What about the status of the contract where does that fall in this process of the contract that we will execute with the election authority?
Okay, it's currently being reviewed right now.
Okay. Are we going to include, or are the similar terms in the contract as far as our ability to review what's presented by the election authority, so do not have a repeat?
Yes, and that's a great question, and there will be legal representation for CFB and administrators at the when they do conduct their test, so that we won't have the same situation occur. At least we can have the opportunity to look at it and see that we will not have that same situation occur with the ballot as occurred in the prior election.
Okay, because we have to do better as far
Yes.
as the information to our constituents and presenting a clear and, more importantly, fair election. Thanks.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Okay, I'm gonna ask for a motion then regarding item 6C. Do I have a motion? Ms. Derrick?
I move that we approve agenda item C as presented.
I have a motion from Ms. Derrick that we approve item C as presented. Do I have a second? See a second from Ms. Hatfield. Is there any further discussion? Okay, then I'll call the vote. All those in favor, please show by raising their hand. Okay, I see 7 hands raised. All opposed is 0. So by a vote of 7 in favor, 0 opposed, item 6C carries. We'll move now to item 7 on the agenda, which is adjournment to a closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code, Section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code. Consultation with the district's attorney concerning legal issues related to a bond election. Audience members are welcome to remain in the boardroom As board members recess and move into the executive conference room for deliberations, the time is now 7:40 p.m. We are back on record in open session, having returned from closed session. The time is now 8:20 p.m. Our next item is agenda item number 9. We are going to step over that agenda item just very briefly and come back to it, and we're going to instead look at agenda item 10, which is consideration and approval of an order calling a bond election to be held by the Carrollton-Farmers Branch School District, making provision for the conduct of a joint election and resolving other matters incident and related to such election. Mr. Marsh, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Black. You heard in the January meeting the passion and the work that was put in by the 2023 Citizens Bond Committee, and that has brought us here tonight, and we're recommending that you approve a call for an election as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Marsh. Do I have a motion? Ms. Derrick?
I move that the Board of Trustees approve and adopt an order calling a bond election.
Have a motion from Ms. Derrick. Do I have a second? I have a second from Ms. Brady. Is there any discussion? Yes, Ms. Benavides.
I just wanted to say that I know that our bond election is a big number, and I really appreciate the committee that put it all together, and that we are sensitive to the fact that this is a lot. We are very grateful that it's not increasing tax rates, and that we appreciate support from our community. And I want y'all to know that we are very aware of that high dollar request, but it's necessary changes that we need in our community for our schools. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Benavides. Any further discussion? Ms. Urbacek?
Well, I think I spoke enough last time about the process and what I had asked y'all to consider, since our last meeting. And I echo, your comments. This is big, and this is a big decision for us to call a bond election. Do I have concerns about the amount? I absolutely do. It's a huge amount of money. I do think it provides a test to our financial staff for keeping us in a position that we could do or possibly do this without impacting the tax rate, which was an expectation of the Citizens Committee. That was their goal. It's a big decision, not one taken lightly, because this does commit the district, like I said last time, and future board members to long-term. It's a long-term commitment with great benefit and great results for our students and our staff and our community. I fully believe that, but it's a big deal. I think I too have thought a lot about it. In every bond meeting and everything we've done, but at the end of the day, how I've chosen to look at it is, the bond request and the build a bond and the bond proposal and everything was built by a sample set of our community, and by calling the bond election, it allows the balance of our community and our community decide what they want to invest their money in, because this money stays with CFB ISD. It does not go to the state. It stays with us, which is different from our other bucket, of money that we have. So, been community led, could be a community decision, and I think that's fitting.
Thank you, Ms. Urbacek. Any other comments? Anything left? Right. Okay, I would just like to thank Ms. Urbacek for her service as liaison on the bond committee, and all the members of the committee for the hours and hours and hours and hours of work that they put into this, and the difficult, sometimes contentious conversations that had to be had around this. This is, as you say, Ms. Urbacek, is a big deal, and it was hard work, and And I do really feel like we got a nice cross-section of the community. Now, people weren't all in agreement about every single thing, right? And they hashed it out and reached consensus. And so I want to thank the committee for coming forward with the wonderful presentation at our last board meeting and the recommendation that they've made. Are there any further comments or discussion? I see none, so I'm going to go ahead and call the vote, or I'm going to call for, I've already called for a motion. I've got a second. I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor, please show by raising your hand. See 7 hands raised. All those opposed? None. By a vote of 7 in favor and 0 opposed, the motion carries. Thank you very much. We're going to move back to agenda item number 9 momentarily. Before we do, our next step is to call Leslie Weaver from Huckabee forward and just to talk to the board for a few minutes about the proper role of board members once we have called a bond election. So, Ms. Weaver, I'm turning it over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Black, members of the board. It's so good to see you this evening. Congratulations on taking that big step.
I'm looking forward to the future and providing opportunities for students and staff in the future of your community. I think Mr. Larry there is passing out some information on, or maybe Dawn is too, on election ethics, kind of do's and don'ts. I know we have some attorneys in the room that can help speak up. What I wanted to review for you quickly tonight is the Texas Election Code, some things that you can and can't do during an election, kind of talk about advocacy versus information and your role as a school board member versus your role as a private citizen. As you probably know, the Texas Election Code prohibits employees or officers of the district from using school resources, funds, or time for political advertising or advocacy. So communication can turn into advocacy based on the tone and emphasis of statements made, and it's any communication that pushes for a particular outcome. So whether you are for the bond, or maybe privately if you're against the bond, you would be prohibited from sharing those facts while in your official capacity. So what that means is when you're serving as a representative of the district, when you have your school board member hat on, when you're wearing a school board member name tag, badge, you can always educate. You just can't advocate. You can always share facts. You just can't share your opinions. And you can always encourage residents to register to vote and to get out and vote during early voting and on election day. And I think that's important to remember. You know, sometimes over the years we've seen school district employees and school boards, you know, I've heard people make the statement, oh, I'm not allowed to talk about it. That's not true at all. You absolutely are allowed to talk about it. In fact, I would encourage you to talk about it. Like Ms. Herbachik said, it's going to be the residents of CFB ISD who get to make a decision when they go to the polls. You want them to have all the information they need to make an informed decision. So some examples of facts that you can share. Dawn and her team will be developing materials. There will be printed materials, there will be social media posts, there will be information on the website. You can help distribute all of that district developed materials and share that link with people. You can talk about the proposed bond projects and the estimated cost. You can talk about the age and conditions of facilities. You know, if someone says, well, there's a proposal to replace Carrollton Elementary School, how old is it? You know, instead of saying, oh, I can't talk about that, no, you can tell them how old the school is. You can give tax rate information and financial information. You can describe the process. You can talk about the Citizens Committee who worked together, you know, over that 6-month period to really dive deep and have all of those critical conversations. You can provide information about voting, where to vote, when to vote, what the ballot language will say. So again, when you're in your official role as a school board member, or for the district employees who are in the room or watching tonight, when you're representing the district, what you cannot do is use your district-issued devices or resources to advocate for or against. So you can't use your computer to share a vote yes message or a it's okay to vote no message. If you have a district-issued cell phone, you could not be using that for social media for advocacy. You cannot, you know, use the copy machines in this building to promote or copy materials that are promoting a particular type of vote. You should not be using slogans or taglines like, I'll make up some examples, you know, this is best for our students, or bringing CFB into the future. You want to avoid things like that. You also should not be sharing links to websites or social media pages that are advocating. Again, this is all while you're representing the district in your official school board capacity. And of course, not telling others how to vote. That would be a violation. Some examples of advocacy, again, and you've got up here, I'm showing examples of advocacy for and advocacy against. You want to avoid words like saying vote for or vote against, or this is the best solution, or oh, these are countless extras, or this is a fantastic plan, or this is a wasteful plan. These are going to be state-of-the-art updates, or these are unnecessary updates. We need this, or oh, those are just a wish list. All of those things could be considered advocacy, and you want to avoid those when you're in your official capacity. Even tone and emphasis can be considered advocacy in a violation. The use of exclamation marks or different font size, bold, underline. And so again, Dawn and her team will be working closely, probably with bond counsel, to make sure all things are presented are in a lawful manner. So if any of these things are used at the wrong time or wrong place, they could be result in an ethics violation. Some examples here of factual materials. The document on the left is kind of a draft of what an information sheet that the district could put out. That would be appropriate for you guys to share even when you are in your official capacity, versus the photo on the right that would clearly be considered advocacy. And what makes it advocacy? You can see the words vote for at the top. On the bottom left, you see vote yes. Both of those languages show support or a call to action asking voters to vote for the proposition. And then on the bottom right, you can see a white check mark. It implies a vote in favor of the bond. So in your official capacity, these would be violations. What's the cost of an ethics violation? There could certainly be some fines, but if you look at those bottom two, distraction for the district and voter education campaign, sometimes the distraction can be the biggest penalty, and the trust issue, the distrust of the district can be a real problem. But you can talk about this on your own time, on your own dime. You know, when you're in your own backyard on a Saturday evening, or when you're at the grocery store, and again, you are representing yourself as a private citizen, you absolutely could participate in after-hours advocacy activities. You can express personal opinions about the election as long as it's on your own time. You can have a sign in your yard or a sticker in your car that indicates how you're voting, and you can campaign for or against the propositions on your own time and using your own resources. So not using a district laptop, not using anything that's been provided to you by the district. So one example I like to talk about, just of thinking before you advocate, is I like to use the analogy of, let's say you're on a road trip, and the speed limit's been 70 miles an hour, and you have been cruising along at 70 miles an hour, and then, ooh, you're about to come to a small town. And what happens? It says, ooh, 55 mile an hour ahead, 45 miles an hour ahead, 35. And you have to kind of consciously tap the brakes and slow down because you've just been on cruise control. As school board members, you're probably on cruise control talking about kids and advocating for kids and advocating for your schools all the time. Now that you're in a bond election, you kind of have to think, okay, tap the brakes. Let me think about what I'm saying. Am I in my official capacity? Am I on district-owned property? Am I using district resources? Am I perceived to be on, as an employee on duty right now, or am I perceived to be here as a school board member? What time of day is it? Am I sitting in a board meeting right now? And so that would be considered while you're on duty. Do you want an email or comment you're going to make to appear in the newspaper or go viral? Or could someone who reports to you feel pressured to vote in a certain way? So again, just kind of think, okay, tap the brakes. It's like I'm going through a small town. I need to stop and think about it. I'm not trying to break the law, right? I've just been on cruise control and used to advocating for kids. So that would kind of be my advice. But you can always share facts. So I want to go through a couple of scenarios with you. So scenario number one, you're a school board member at home on your personal computer, and you decide to post on your personal social media account about the upcoming bond election. You choose a group photo of CFB ISD staff that was taken by the communications department at convocation, and you caption the photo, "We need your help, vote for the bond." Now, I don't know if I'm allowed to take audience participation during a board meeting, but does anybody want to take a guess at what the violations in that scenario could be? The picture. So what I've put here in the green text, that is all fine and dandy, right? In the red text, it's that group photo of CFBA staff that was taken by the communications department, because it would have been using school district resources, showing school district employees, and then of course the language, we need your help, vote for the bond. Acceptable variations of that is, again, on your own time, using your own devices, you could choose a photo of you and your family, and the caption could say, join my family and me in voting for the bond. Or if the district posts a photo on the district Facebook page with this caption, the board voted to call a bond election last week. Election day is May 6th. You could share this post on your personal account and on your trustee account because it's factual. Or on your own time and your own devices, you could retweet a favorite editorial about the election from your personal Twitter account on your own time. Scenario 2. So you as a school board member and district administrators are invited to attend a community meeting. The organizer asks you or another representative from CFB ISD to speak about the state of the district and answer questions about the bond. You present an informational PowerPoint and a handout provided by the communications department. Both contain facts about the bond. You also bring Vote Yes for the Bond yard signs, and you wear a Vote Yes button. What would be the violations? The last sentence, that's right. Everything else was fine. But as soon as you turned it into advocacy, because you had been invited as a school board member, that is what would have made that a potential violation. Scenario 3. So you're a school board member. You take your son or daughter to open a house at their school. The principal stops you in the hallway, and you both start talking about how much the bond projects are needed in that school. The principal shares a plan to email the teachers and tell them that if they ever want to teach in an updated building, they better get out and vote for the bond. You respond that teacher and staff turnout is always so low, so yeah, tell the faculty and staff to get out there and vote. What are the violations in that one? What's that? You're on school property. Yes. So, and even the fact that talking about how much the bonds are needed, because that would be advocacy, and then the email would be a complete violation. That would be a definite no-no. Now, I put the bottom sentence in yellow because that would probably be okay, and I'm going to look at the attorneys. You can encourage staff to get out there and vote, right? You just can't tell them how to vote. So an acceptable variation is you might want to remind the principal to proceed with caution and just stick to sharing facts about the bond. And maybe you suggest to the principal, add a line in the email that says, I won't tell you how to vote, but I want to encourage you to vote and have your voice heard. Okay, so now we're going to talk about, play a little game here, other scenarios. So as a school board member, if you're at a ball game, whether it's home or away, would you inform or would you advocate? I would say inform, play it safe. I mean, if you have a child that's on like the middle school 7th grade C team and you were there as a parent and everybody knows you're there as the parent because of the middle school C team, and that's probably not a type of event most board members would attend as a board member, maybe you can get away with it there, but usually assume people know you're a school board member and you're representing the school board, so you would only share facts and inform. What if you're at a For the Kids pack rally on your own time? You could advocate. If you're 100% on your own time, you could advocate. What if you're at Meet the Teacher night at school?
Inform.
I would inform. Stick with the facts. What if you're at the grocery store or coffee shop?
Advocate.
You guys can advocate. And I like that you're being so cautious because you're not going to get the school district in trouble or yourself in trouble, but you do have that right as a private citizen to advocate. What if you're at grandparents' day at school?
Inform.
I would inform. What if you're at a party at a friend's home? Super Bowl's coming up.
Advocate.
Okay, y'all are advocating on Super Bowl Sunday. Okay. What if you're at church?
Advocate.
You could advocate. And I have a little note at the bottom that superintendents, I've been told, should probably never advocate. So additional resources are available to you on the ethics website, as well as TASB website and Bond Council with Walsh Gallegos. Any questions or any other scenarios you'd like to discuss?
Mr. Bacek.
I just want to confirm that that purple sign was not a district sign. That was an advocacy group pack
Yes.
that put that sign. That wasn't the school district.
Correct, that I found on the internet.
Yes.
By searching, yes.
Yeah.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, thank you so
All right,
much, Ms.
thank
Weaver.
you.
Thank you and thanks for everything you've done to get us up to this point. We
Absolutely, been a
certainly
pleasure.
appreciate your partnership. Okay, so that's agenda item number 10. We're going to go backwards just for a moment, if people will bear with me. And let's talk about agenda item number 9, which is consideration and approval of a resolution approving an engagement agreement for bond counsel legal services with Walsh, Gallegos, Trevino, Kyle, and Robinson PC and Cantu Harton LLP, and other matters in connection therewith. Mr. Marsh?
Well, as illustrated in Ms. Weaver's presentation, navigating the legal waters of a bond are, very challenging, very complex. Therefore, it's important or prudent that the district have very good legal counsel to ensure that everything is above board and so that there are no unintentional violations. That's why it's recommended that the board engage in an agreement with legal counsel.
Thank you, Mr. Marsh. Do I have a motion regarding this item? And remember, we must use the language that's included in the printed copy of your agenda if you're making a motion. Ms. Derrick?
I move that the Board of Trustees approve a contingent fee engagement agreement for co-bond counsel and co-disclosure counsel legal services with Walsh, Gallegos, Trevino, Kyle, and Robinson, PC, and Cantu Harden, LLP, and adopt the resolution as presented.
Thank you, Ms. Derrick. Do I have a second? See a second from Ms. Brady. Is there any discussion? I would just offer for public record that this is a contingency agreement, which means unless the bond issue passes, then the fee doesn't have to be paid. So just putting that out there for so that the public knows. Is there any other discussion? Okay, I'll go ahead and call the vote. All those in favor, please show by raising their hands. 9 hands raised. Any opposed? None. So by a vote of 9 in favor, or excuse me, 7 in favor. I just added 2 people to the board meeting. All right, let's back up, rewind just a little bit. By a vote of 7 in favor and 0 opposed, the item 9 passes. Okay, so we've already done item 10. We're going to move now to item number 11, which is consideration and approval of a resolution relating to establishing the district's intention to reimburse itself for the prior lawful expenditures of funds relating to constructing and equipping various district improvements from the proceeds of tax-exempt obligations to be issued by the district for authorized purposes, authorizing other matters incident and related thereto, and providing an effective date. That's a mouthful. I will turn this over to you, Mr. Marsh.
All right. You pretty much said what I was going to say. So that's just to allow the district flexibility to be able to reimburse itself, just like you're saying. So if you end up spending monies that were specifically related to the bond before the issuance of a bond out of general fund, that you can reimburse that. So it serves or satisfies the intent of the bond. It's recommended that you approve the reimbursement.
Okay, thank you. I'll go ahead and ask for a motion and remind you that you need to use the motion language if you're making a motion from your agenda. Ms. Brady.
I move that the board adopt a reimbursement resolution.
I have a motion from Ms. Brady. Do I have a second? Second from Ms. Benavides. Is there any discussion? Okay, I'll go ahead and call the vote. Seeing no discussion, seeing no hands raised. All those in favor, please raise their hand. We have 7 hands raised. All those opposed, 0. So by a vote of 7 to 0, agenda item number 11 carries. We'll move now to agenda item number 12, which are comments from board members regarding posted agenda items. Board members, do you have any comments you wish to make at this time related to the posted agenda item? Ms. Benavides.
I just want to thank everyone for all of the reports, the thoroughness, and all the time that was put into our agenda items tonight. And have a happy Valentine's.
Any other comments? Thank you, Ms. Benavides. Okay. Hearing none, seeing none, we will move to agenda item 13. Ladies and gentlemen, we've reached the end of our agenda, and we are adjourned at 8:45 p.m. Thank you all very much.